Do you mind introducing yourself for the recording?
Yeah, so I'm Adrien Allard. I'm the developer behind File Converter, as you find out yourself. It's like a hobby project for me that I did some years ago. But in the real life, I'm a video game developer.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if you know much about me. I'm a video essayist, and I
Yeah.
kind of cover stories that are a little bit buried under normal day to day life, and your interactions with Zamza is one of these things. And I'm kind of curious as to like how did File Comforter come about? Like your project from when did you start working on it, and why did you start working on it?
Yeah. I start working on it in 2016, I think, about that. At this time, I'm also a musician, so I work with a lot of audio files, and I wanted to be able to convert easily files from to MP3 at the time. And I was quite annoyed by all the converters that was existing behind a paywall with like scammy website, and it was quite complicated to find a good software, um, and each software was able to convert only one format at the time. Then I found FFmpeg, that is an open source software to convert files, and it does everything. Like it's quite impressive, but it's a command line file. So for me, it's not an issue. So I started to use it, but I saw that it was quite. Uh, it was I
Difficult
don't know.
for people to get into it.
Yeah, it's for people that don't have the technical knowledge. It's not easy to use, and we needed an interface to be able to easily use it for everyone. So I started to create an interface for for using FFmpeg, and at this time I was inspired by 7-zip, the software, the conversion. The software that compress files, and
So,
I wanted to do the same interface for converting files. So I did a small prototype that was only able to convert audio files, and I started using it. And some weeks later, I started to put it under the GPL license on GitHub, and
right.
it started. And I did a lot more feature after.
It's really fascinating because I'm hearing about all these softwares and codecs that I personally have used myself as well, and you hear that it goes back all the way then to how File Converter is now, which is really an amazing piece of software that it's really changed my workflow just by using it. So it's I think you did a really good job, and
Thanks.
I just wanted to connect this to like your experience with Zamza, because I did end up accidentally downloading Zamza from the
Yeah.
fileconverter.org website. Yeah. And I can't help but notice like it's incredibly similar. Was it always like similar to your file converter? Because I wasn't there back when they started, so I don't know what
Yeah.
Zamza used to be.
So no, it was not similar. Last year, Zamzar contacted me to buy the domain of File Converter. At the beginning, I did not want it to sell it because I wanted the File Converter to keep the exposure it has. But they wanted to give me a lot of money, so at some point I started to think about it. Basically, yeah. I talked with one people at Zamzar, and I asked for some security about. I wanted to for that file converter to be redirected on the Zamza when they get the
.org.
domain to have a link to my next domain, so people that search for the open source software can be rerouted, stuff like that. But when the domain name change is just got the HTML source code of my website and just replaced just put the line that I asked at the bottom of the page that you
Yes, I saw it. It's like
you
this
saw
one
it,
tiny line
in
at the
your video.
bottom.
Yeah, the tiny line at the bottom in gray
Yeah.
on white background, and it was okay for them. So I asked them to. They even took my logo at that time. So
Oh, did they?
I sent a lot of email and saying that the logo was under GPL license, so they don't. They can't use it extra. So they changed the logo by replacing it by just putting some PNG over my logos. But it was just enough. I asked them to add the Zamzar company on the first line of the website. So they added the Zamzar file converter. Just the minimum action.
Right.
So
Even
then I changed the design of my site so it's a bit different from them, and tried to put the new link everywhere I can. So in the YouTube videos that talked about my software extra.
right.
And a lot of people change description of their videos. So thanks to them, it redirects.
It's a very interesting experience to see, because like even I, as some I feel like I myself am someone who is very used to the online space and the software circle and community, but even I fell for the website change.
Yeah, it's not quite illegal for them to do that, but it's just borderline. So but when you just search for the program, even when you used it before, it's easy to just download the wrong software now.
Yeah, even after downloading the software user interface now is very similar to your file converter.
But it was before.
It was before.
I think maybe they used file converter to inspire their interface, but I checked at the time and it was already a context menu extension. But when you try to convert a file, it is uploaded to their server and then converted and then re-downloaded. And that was the whole point of file converter, is to not do that. To not send your files over internet, to keep your privacy and stuff like that. So
right. So their file converter, Zamza, requires you to send the you have to be online for you to convert the files.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Right.
See, from the user perspective, this is the main difference between file converter and the Zamzar product. You send your files, and in particular, you send your file to a private company that may use it for I don't know why.
Right. So
maybe
the big difference is just it's basically this online the sending your file over to the server, and from what I understand, like this doesn't require the interface. If I'm not wrong, Zamza in the past used to be like you have to upload the files on their website.
Yeah, and they contacted me it's fun because they contacted me like days ago, like 10 days ago, to tell me that because when they got back the domain name, they told me that it will be replaced soon by a new version. It's temporary. They are working on a redesign of the website, and they told me like 10 days ago that they finished the new website. And in fact, you can go to fileconverter.org,
Oh,
and it's now a new, different interface. So it changed.
Oh, really? So my video is completely outdated.
Yeah, but it changed very recently. But in fact, the scammy stuff was like for 1 year, because it was in February 2024 that they got the domain. So I think they kept the domain, the website similar for 1 year to be able to get
All the
most
SEO
people,
conversion.
for the bot to think that this is the same site, etc.
Right. So in my video, I was talking about this, like how my theory is that Zamza bought fileconverter.org so that they can write the search engine. Because Zamza.com, it doesn't come up when you search for something like an open source file converter, but it does when we search for it now, because they bought over your website basically.
Yes, I think you're right in your video.
And have you watched the video, by the way?
I watched it just before our call.
Is there any did I get anything wrong or any points?
No, I think you're right. I think they bought it to have a greater audience, and I didn't know that it was quite risky to sell them. So, but I actually didn't expect it to be that scammy.
Right. I don't think you should feel like guilt over it, because I don't think anyone would have expected them to do something like this either.
Yeah.
And I want to move away from Zamza a bit and talk a bit about open source space.
Yeah.
I'm only like surface level familiar with open source space. I use a lot of open source software myself, but I'm not a programmer. The last time I programmed something was like 12 years ago in school. So, do you mind telling me about your thoughts on like the open source space and what does it do from your programming perspective?
Yeah, I never being part of a teamwork on open source software, so I don't know for that part. But I'm quite how to say that I very agree with the value of open source software from like long time ago. So sharing stuff, mainly sharing the knowledge of. I did add access to programming knowledge because I did some engineering studies on that topic. So and why I wanted to share that for people that don't have access to that, can also have some good tools. This is why I did a file converter.
Right.
Public.
I think that's pretty much the idea of open source in general.
Yeah. And I see all the private companies that try to some companies are doing good software with real value and they sell them to make money, but it's quite okay when you have something to sell. But a lot of companies are just doing some shitty software to just extract money from people,
Right.
and people don't know any alternatives, so they are quite forced to use that kind of software. And so it's also to keep this shitty software down.
That makes sense, because when I downloaded Zamza, it didn't work at all. It straight up just didn't work.
I didn't try it.
Yeah, that was actually the whole reason I looked into them, because up until the point that it didn't work, I thought it was your file converter all the way until like I tried to convert it and it didn't work, and I was like, why is it not working? And I went to your GitHub page to try to figure it out, and I realized it's not your file converter. That's why I even figured it out.
Okay.
I'm wondering if like because I know certain companies they do take like open source codes to use and then they add on to it. Do you feel like Zamza might have done that?
Hmm.
You don't have to answer this if you're not comfortable with it, of course.
I don't know because I don't search for it. Maybe I can look at that and try to search around it. It's very difficult to prove because
Proprietary software
eh,
is like a black box.
yeah, and they may have looked at my software and say, "Oh yeah, we need to implement that stuff too." So they take the ID and redeveloped it. Maybe they took the code too. If they did, it's illegal because my code is under GPL license, so they can't use it for monetized purpose.
Right, right.
But it's quite difficult to prove, and so I don't know.
Because I'm asking this because the founders of Zamza previously worked on another software and they did say they took open source codes to build on. So this is
Yeah,
something that they seem to
yeah,
at least know their thing.
it's clearly possible. I don't know if they are doing this kind of shitty stuff on the communication side. Maybe they do it also on the technical side. It's possible, but I don't know, so I can't. I can't accuse them for that.
Right.
What I know is their converter is not working in the same way mine does because they are not doing conversion locally.
They have
So
to
if they took something, it's more on the interface and not because I use FFmpeg and they can't use FFmpeg because it's also GPL license.
right, understand. Um so my next question is have you heard of a lot of people who have like mistaken the new Zamza website, the fileconverter.org website for your file converter? Like, is this a common problem?
I think so. Some people talked about it on the GitHub. There is a conversation about it. I explained to them what they bought the website. They did not steal it. So I told them that and that it was quite strange that they took the same website and tried to be like my software, but so it helped a bit for the people that are going to the GitHub, but for people that don't know what GitHub is and how it works, I think a lot of people. I saw my traffic goes down. I only track the number of download on the website to know if there is some issue. Like at some point, I had an issue on the website, and
Like,
the
if the
number
website
of
is
download
down a
goes
lot?
to zero downloads. So I fixed it so people can have access again. So this is the only thing I track. The only data I track, and I saw the traffic go down to like 20% of what I had before. So I
20%.
think, yeah, but now it's going up a lot, and I think I'm at 60 to 70%.
Or
So
of what it was before?
of what it was before. Yeah, so a lot. It's also the bot in Google and other search engine start to put fileconverter.io a lot more in the first page than before. It starts to be known again. Yeah,
Right.
At that time, I was on Google Analytics. Now I'm on another. I try to go out of Google too. It's not easy.
Yeah, moving out of all the big companies is not easy to do.
Yeah, and I like your topic and of your video. I started my video game company like a year ago and try to use as much open source software as possible, and it was uh, a big concern for us.
Yeah, ending up using open source software was quite a life-changing experience for me as well, because
Yeah.
it just cuts away so much of the production costs that I would otherwise have to do. If I wasn't using open source software, I would be paying close to $800 a year just for my licenses. And it's insane for some of the software.
Yeah, but I can tell you that I can send you the traffic for the since it changed.
Ah, okay. So this is the search engine traffic.
This is the download traffic.
Download traffic. Oh
Yeah.
my
The
god.
download of file converter on fileconverter.io.
That's a lot of traffic that compared to
I found it. Yeah, and just before, I have just 1 month, but just before I have like this kind. Oh, I'm almost at 100% now.
You're almost back.
And the site was sold like beginning of February, so this is why it goes down.
It went down a lot, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's a huge difference. If
So I was at 10K before, and after just after I was at 3K. So you see, 30%.
so
And
right at February,
then
that's when
it goes.
Yeah.
And then I asked a lot of video and the Framasoft or all the sites that are sending that are rerouting to file converter. I send them the new URL so they change the content, and it helped a lot to go back to 5K people, 5K downloads. So and then it's go up slowly, I think, because search engine try to reconnect to file converter IO, so it's more and more in the front of result.
Right. I'm looking at the new zamzafileconverter.org website, and it's quite interesting that they don't actually mention Zamza now.
It's quite strange, and they kept the file converter name. It's very generic, so we can't attack them on that. But
yes,
they
find
continue to fuel the confusion.
Plus, I think if I downloaded from this website now, I would be even more confused.
Yeah.
It's
quite strange. The strategy is quite strange.
The download page though is still exactly the same as your previous layout. Yeah.
And they kept the convert your file in just 2 click, the tagline of the software.
So this might actually be worse than the previous website, now that I think about it.
But they did change it, so
yeah, I mean, legally, this is one of those things that I was trying to cover, that legally there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
But it's just really, it doesn't feel right at all for me to see this.
It's not. I don't think it is. I was quite. I was regretting a bit after told me that I should have not sold it, but it isn't. So I try to get back the people on my website, so they are not they don't have false visibility.
I feel like this is something that has been done quite a bit of time, a few times. I don't think Zamza is the only company to do it. I do remember other software I've used going through this, but I just can't remember the name. So I do not think that it's any of your fault for like having sold the website. If they offered me quite a lot of money, I might have done the same thing.
Yeah, but I can tell you the numbers. I don't. I'm not.
No, I think it's best for you not to tell me that number. That
Yeah, okay.
yeah
But it's not something I want to hide because it's what happened.
right
But I think it's a lot of money for me, but it's not a lot of money for them. So it's quite easy for them to put this kind of deal to open source software that are just maintained by one or two people and to get
yeah.
the visibility they want.
If they have a company and some minor small amount for a company's size is large for an individual. It
Yeah,
can
yeah.
cover rent and a lot of stuff. I completely understand. Um, wow. Just doing some quick math on the download. They would have taken. This means that they would have probably taken like close to over 200,000 downloads over the course of a year, just from the name change alone. That's insane.
Yeah, that's quite huge.
Yes, if even one person ends up buying their software, that 1% of the people who download it, that's tens of thousands of dollars in their pockets. That's nuts.
Yeah, an estimation can be made with these numbers.
Yes, I have to crunch the number, but yes, I think that estimate is around there. Wow. How has like your community reacted to Hamza? I know the GitHub community is quite small. It's just a bunch of programmers talking to each other, but I'm sure like people have talked about it.
Yeah, they talked about it. I explained to them what happened and what I did to try to replace the FileConverter URL everywhere. I told them that if they know some way to increase the visibility of the open source project, they are free to do it. But after March, there is a lot of traffic on the GitHub page, and it's quite I would say a huge mental load to follow
For one
uh,
person.
this now. So I try to focus on this like once a year. So I make an update. I try to integrate some work that the community does, and then I just forget about it. And so it's easier for me to do it this way. I don't want the project to die, but it's quite. I worked a lot on it in the past, and at some point I worked on it a bit too much, so I got a bit tired of it. It
Yeah.
was quite
Um,
difficult to continue.
I understand that
It's
because
often the case with open source software. People get the risk is to be uh, to be crushed by your own work.
yeah. This we're talking about software that would traditionally be made by companies with multiple programmers and resources, being made
Yeah,
by teams of like one or a small team of people.
yeah. File Converter was a huge amount of work.
Yes, I will
I worked
imagine
on
it.
it like for like 4 years, 2 hours a day,
Oh wow, that's a
around
lot of
2 hours
work.
a day.
Yeah, that's a huge amount of work for this. This
So
is
it's
it um it brings me to like the point of like open source. I argue in my video that open source works best when more people use it because more people can contribute.
yeah.
Yeah, do you feel like that is a good way to explain it?
Yeah, it's true, but you need to have a lot of people using your software if you want to have contribution, because not a lot of people are comfortable with reading
Codes.
source code or complicated source code, and even less are able to read it, understand it, and make modifications the right way. So
Yeah, I remember when
during the first 7 years of life of FileConverter, I had like no technical pull request, but early in the development, I added a localization system to be able to translate the software. And the first request I had was people that were saying, I don't know how to program, but I know my language, so I can translate it. And this is why FileConverter is translated in so many languages. It's people are doing this kind of contribution at first. And it's very important for the software to be used by a lot of people.
right. So the
So
translation
it's quite nice. But now I have a lot of contribution. But now it's me that don't have the time to review it and integrate it. So this is the other issue of the open source software. You need to continue to maintain your software if you want it to
right.
live. So I may put like 1 or 2 days of work in it soon. So I answer to everyone. I integrate what can be integrated and make a new version of the software.
This is fascinating because I'm having flashback to my programming days in school where we were taught that reading someone else's code is like trying to read a doctor's handwriting. It's sometimes ineligible unless you know what they're talking about.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Yeah. So right now, for File Converter, the translations were done by the community. Basically, is that?
Yeah, all the translation except the French translation have been done by the community. I did the French and English version of the software, and then a lot of people contributed to this. And I had some. You can see the history of that in the pull request of the GitHub, but some bug fix have been done, and a very small feature by other people, and now there is a lot of open pull requests. So I need to look at it. I'm looking at it right now, and there's
even more.
There is like 15 pull requests. So.
No,
But the main contribution of people at the beginning is the issues. A lot of people are coming to GitHub and trying to explain their experience with the software, and and when you ask some question, they are getting log files and stuff to help you. So
basically bug report.
Yeah, and it's a big part of the work.
Did you ever see like File Converter getting a fork? Someone picking it up and doing even more stuff with it?
There is a lot of fork, yeah.
Oh, there is?
I did not took time to search for them, but when after I worked a lot on it, I was quite burned out of this project at some point. So I stopped working on it for 2 or 3 years, and people were trying to speculate on my death on GitHub. It was quite strange. So they try to fork it, and I think there is some fork that exists, but I don't know.
I think that's one of the good stuff about open source, that eventually there will be a fork of something if enough people use it.
This is the main, a very strong part of the open source software. It is duplicated everywhere, so it can die.
Yeah, it will self-replicate. It will never die.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all the question I have for experience on File Converter. Actually, one more thing about your experience with Zamza is what were they like when they contacted you? Like, were they formal or just very straightforward?
Yes, very formal, very straightforward, very professional. You see that it's quite a big company, and with a marketing department extra. So the guy who I talked to was very nice, and so I was quite reassured by their attitude, but it seems that it's not.
It's not the ending wasn't what you
Yeah,
expected, right? Then
yeah.
that really does sound
And I was afraid that it was quite of a real scam for even for me, but the deal was quite fair. So
right. And if you were to look back on it now, do you think you would you have done the same thing, or would you have made a different choice with the knowledge you have now?
good question. I think I would have contacted a lawyer before to maybe make a real contract to to forbid to take my website, stuff like that.
Right, to make sure everything is as
Yeah,
different as possible.
yeah, and to force them to make the deals that you think it should be. You know.
Right. I think that I think that's a good advice for pretty much everyone who might be in this position. I
Yeah,
think a lot of open source creators eventually, if their software get used enough, someone somewhere will want it, and I feel like this is something that will probably end up happening.
yeah. But yeah, it will happen again. But my plan was to when I started selling them the domain, I was hoping that the 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 software will get its visibility again, because I didn't made any advertising for File Converter, and it got a lot of attention because the software is helpful to people. So I told me I never use advertising. It will be known again in other way, because the software keep existing. The GitHub is still there and it's the same, so it will get back its image at some point. And this is what happening. So it's a lot of people got on the wrong website this year, but maybe next year it will be less the case, I think.
Basically, the more people talk about it, the
Yeah,
less likely it will happen again.
yeah.
Do you have any like takeaways from your experience? Like anything that you feel like you've learned from it?
Yeah. When you're contacted by a private company, don't be naive. The worst scenario is probably the good one. The what
what
will be?
what is happening is possibly the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
uh, that's pretty much all my question about your experience with Zamda and Power Converter. Do you have anything you want to like plug? You said you started your own game company.
Yeah.
Anything you're working on? Yeah.
Yeah, I started my game company last year, and I did I published a game on October last year.
Oh,
Its
congratulations.
name, the company's name Frog Collective, and the game is named Coleridge. So I invite you to
Uh,
test it if you play video games.
Awesome. I'll definitely check it out. I
Thanks.
thank you again for talking to me, Adrien. This has been really interesting. It's really helpful as well. And your experience is also quite unique in the world we live in, to have a company just buy over a website just to
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It was
Uh,
quite strange, actually.
all right. Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks